Ali.
Just in case we're running out of steam today for some of those players.
Yeah, we were. Look, you know, the emotion of the last 3 days, aside from the game itself, and obviously, you know, the players are allowed to celebrate that, but I think, irrespective of that, just the emotions of the last 3 days was all going to be a bit of a difficult, tricky one for us today. I thought first half we competed well. Probably could have had a second goal, which kind of would have made it sort of a little bit easier for us. Even the second half, Brent's got a great opportunity, but you could tell in the last sort of 35 minutes we'd run out of legs, and kind of understandable from the players. Look, they've been outstanding with us this year. We've obviously, given them some difficult moments for sure, and like any supporter, they want their team to do well. They don't like losing games the way we have been. But the backdrop of that was also that we've given them a night and a couple of subsequent days that will live with them forever. And I think that was always the main driver. And I'm just super pleased that for all we've sort of been through this year as a club and our supporters have been through. I think the overriding emotion this year will be how they've felt the last 3 days.
Just on that, you said a while back you thought that having succeeded in unifying the club. Given the successes today, I mean, where do you feel at with that?
Yeah, look, I think it's fair to say I think the last few days have shown, how the club can be when it is. It's a massive club. It's got such a massive reach. People are very passionate about it. You've just seen, you've seen the sort of outpouring of emotions over the last 2 or 3 days. What it means to people, and that's something we need to build on. That's something we need to sort of tap into and moving forward. That when we're all together like that, you show the force of the club, and that's what a trophy does. That's what doing something like we've done the last sort of couple of days does. I think it just means people feel that extra connection and want more of it.
Is that an argument for you staying and that it would jeopardise unity if there's a change in the
Yeah, I'll be honest, I've been finding it really weird talking about my future when, like I said, we've done something unprecedented. So I've had to answer the questions because no one else at the club is kind of in the position to do so, I guess. But I can't answer that question about me and my future. And like I said, part of me is kind of thinking, well, why am I even been asked that question? But it is what it is, and I've got no doubt though that this could be a real sort of defining moment for this club because like I said, wherever I've been, I've kind of made an impact where I've brought success to a club that hasn't had it for a while, and you just have to look at those clubs' trajectory. Even after I've left, they're still, competing for things, and I really think this is a moment in time where this club can really push on and be a real contender for honours on a yearly basis.
And we're all waiting to answer the question.
Yeah.
Presumably, the reason the ownership might be deliberating is the league campaign. What can you say about why next season, if you do carry on, will be different?
Well, look, I think from my perspective, I made decisions that I felt were the best, going to give us the best chance for achieving the goal we needed to achieve this year. And that's affected, our league form. if people don't want to take that into account, then there's nothing I can say to kind of explain it any better than that. I came to the club when it finished 8th. I didn't take over a club that finished 2nd. Had no European football to speak of. It lost the one player that probably guarantees you European football. That was my starting point. At the end of 2 years, I've got the club a trophy it's been crying out for, Champions League football. We finished 5th last year. Either people are saying last year was a huge anomaly for us to finish 5th, or, this is what we deliver. I've got no doubt next year we'll be in a much stronger position in the league, challenging for the top places. I've got no doubt we'll tackle Champions League with the same determination that we tackled the Europa League. I have no doubts about that, and I think if people are seeking any more evidence about me, then there's nothing that I'm going to say it's going to convince them if they haven't seen it in the last 2 years.
About that, we know the injury is obviously already a key part. Is that an area where you think we do things differently?
I've already said that's part of it, but also, as I said, we signed 3 teenagers at the start of the year. Like, we signed two 18-year-olds and a 19-year-old. We went that direction. So and think about who left last year. Yeah, okay, players with experience. So whenever you do that, there's always going to be a little bit of a gap in the development. So that cascading into our injury situation at the start of the year obviously had a massive effect on what we could do in the league. And again, it was our success in the Carabao Cup and our success in the Europa League that added to that as well. So you either assess it all in its totality, or you just separate it and say, well, you know what, it's just not good enough, or it's unbelievable. So you either fall into those categories. But, like I said, at the start of next year, that we'll be in a much better position from the point of view of even the 3 young boys we signed. Lucas is not a young boy anymore. He's going to be a massive contributor. At the start of the year, that wasn't the case. Archie and Wilson's hardly played this year. And if we do some good business in the transfer market, and like I said, bring some experience in, I'm not talking about age, I'm talking about players who have played at this level and, can help the team, then I've got no doubt we can make the impact we want.
Just check, do you think experience in the market would be the most important thing to help the club be stronger?
Yeah, I think not just for us, any club that gets into the Champions League, I think understands that. And I think that's it's the most elite competition in Europe, and it's great demand. So yeah, I think every club that gets into Champions League sees it an opportunity to strengthen with, like I said, experience probably not the right word, but players who have played at that level. Who are going to be comfortable at that level, not players who are stepping up to that level. That's the difference, yeah.
And there's other futures to sort Cristian Romero's heavy linked to move away. How key is it that Tom keep it, and do you feel like you could be the man to actually keep him?
Yeah, look, I think Romero is absolutely important to keep at this football club. You just saw the way he's been in the last, and he hasn't been fully fit, to be fair to him, with his toe, but you've seen he's a World Cup winner. He's a winner, and you saw that in all the big games we've had. And I think the lads certainly respect him very highly, and he makes them taller, walk a bit taller. So, from my perspective, it's a no-brainer about, making sure that players like him, because, if he goes, who do you replace him with? There's not too many out there like him. So, it'd be very important for the club to try and retain him and retain him for the longer term, I think. My gut feeling? My gut feeling is that I feel right now that I've done something that no one believed I could. And I shouldn't be here sitting there talking about it. that's my feeling. But it is what it is. As I said, I'm, and probably I'm talking now because I'm tired, mate. And it's done. I don't have to think about another game, and I just want to go on a break and enjoy my family and reflect on being part of something unbelievably special. Like, it's just, I say I've been fortunate to be in this position a number of times, but seeing those scenes yesterday and the people who've reached out to me and talked to me about, how it's affected and what's happened the last couple of days, that's just a beautiful thing, and I just want to enjoy that. And to be honest, the rest of it, I don't even want to be talking about it. It's just, I just think it's, it's unnecessary. No, but you're right to ask the question, but you're, yeah, that's right. But you're asking the person who can't give you that answer. So that's, and I guess, even for you guys, you wouldn't be asking it if there wasn't a doubt, right? So, but I can't answer it. There's nothing I can say that can answer that question. Other people can. So, from my perspective, it doesn't diminish the achievement. And like I said, I'm so confident about what we can build at this football club, and I want to push on and take it to the next level, and we'll see whether that happens or not.
Jerry, to finish, please.
Sure.
Ange, when you came to the club, you knew the history of the club, you knew the size of the task. Seeing the reactions of fans over the last 3 or 5 days, has it even surprised you, this outpouring of emotion?
Yeah, like I said, I think especially, even yesterday the day before, the parade, and it's just been overwhelming, yeah. But I understand it, because when you think about 17 years without any sort of silverware, that means, you work it out, what's that, 50 games a year that these supporters have, supported their football club with everything in their heart, and they haven't been able to enjoy a day like they have, for those, whatever, 900 games, whatever they are, I don't know what they are. And not only that, they've seen other clubs do it, which doubles the pain. And they've had no experience where they can reflect on it for themselves, for everything they've been through. So I understand it, and I knew that, there's, the legends were out there, and they're still remembered because of that, and there's been a lot of footballers that have come through these doors since then, world-class footballers, but they haven't made the impact that this group has, and I think they'll be remembered for that. So, I mean, I love how it's made people feel really sort of, it's filled a massive hole that they've had for so long, that they now can proudly say their club is a trophy winner. It's a champion of a competition. There is no more this, slide of, you're a great club, but you've never won anything. That's done, and I'm super proud of that.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.